Welcome once again to New Testament Survey. Wanted to give you some instruction on the reading reviews. I've chosen not to do weekly quizzes because I want you to interact a little bit more with the text rather than memorizing something for a quiz. And you can choose what is important to you to write on rather than just guessing at what I think is important. And what I want you to do is to formulate your 500 word reading review. That's half a page, single spaced, 12-point font, just to give you an idea of how long 500 words is. Don't be intimidated by the length. With this format that I'm giving you, you're going to be able to write a 400 word essay quite easily. And the first thing I want you to do is summarize your reading in Metzger. Tell me what he addresses and what his most important points are, and how this text contributes to your understanding of the New Testament, or how it could possibly help you understand the New Testament better. And then formulate one question about Metzger's material. And what I want you to do is use his material to provide substance for an insightful question. In other words, I want you to say, well, I used to think this about the New Testament, but now Metzger has said something different, and why does he do that? And you can tell me why you think he does it, or why you think it's worthless, or what made you angry, what maybe inspired you, just some kind of interaction with the text. And then I want you to do the same thing with your New Testament reading, and then formulate at least one question that addresses a topic of your choice. So usually you will have one reading from Metzger, one reading from the New Testament, and there are times when you will only have Metzger or you will only have the New Testament. And whenever that happens, just write a little bit more about the New Testament question or about the question of your choice. So I want you to come up with 3 questions, and I also will start off the discussion each week with 3 discussion questions along these lines. Okay, how to do a good review. Your summary of Metzger should indicate that you've read the text. And that's basically all I want you to do, is read the text and convince me that you've read it. And that's not hard to do. You give a brief summary of Metzger and how it relates to your question, and then explain how or why you chose to focus on this question. And that how or why is up to you. Like I said, you can choose something that confuses you, something that informed you, or any other thing that gets you to write. And then I want you to do the same thing with the New Testament and with the question of your choice. Okay, the do's and don'ts of your reading review. When you formulate your question about Metzger, like I said earlier, you're letting your instructor know that you have read and understood the text. The question should reflect a knowledge of what Metzger has to say in the reading. That should be obvious, but gotta say it. And when you summarize it, whenever you summarize Metzger or the New Testament, don't just give me the subject headings in the book. This is telling me that you haven't read the text. So you need to put it in your own words, in other words. And I want to know how or why you formulated the question. And the same goes for the New Testament and your question. Let's go down here to the bold. Please do not ask a simple yes or no question. And the way you will know if it's an insightful question or not is if you can easily get the answer off Google. Google cannot think for you yet. You have to type in very specific short phrases in order to get something out of Google. But if you have a question that's more thoughtful, Google's not going to be able to answer it for you. And most yes or no questions, or a question just requiring a fact, is going to be easily answered by Wikipedia or Google. So that would be a good test, and I test myself like that too, all the time actually. And one thing that I really could care less about is the answer. We're not looking for answers. We're looking for questions. And philosophically, I believe that the question dictates the answer. In other words, you can't get an answer to a question that you don't ask. So the question is what matters, and it says that you've thought about it and you're trying to go a little bit deeper, trying to get more understanding. But we're not here to answer questions. We're here to ask questions. Some of your questions I will be able to answer because I've read a whole lot of stuff on this. But the whole purpose of this exercise is to learn how to ask questions that reflect an understanding of the topic. So you will gain knowledge from reading the New Testament, and you'll gain knowledge from Metzger, and you'll gain knowledge, hopefully, from the lectures, and you can use this knowledge to grow and to ask, to go deeper by asking questions. And that's all I have to say for right now. I don't want to repeat myself ad nauseum. So I want you to know that I'm here for you. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email. I never can get this thing to go off. Screencast. This is my author guide for my book. I have to go through and set the level headings, and that's the chapter and subheading and subheading, and all my tables have to identify all my long quotes. I have to identify right here the ext, and it's a real pain. The worst thing about it is I have to go back, and between after every period has to be one space, but for the school that I wrote the paper for, I have to have two spaces. So I'm having to delete a space after every period in the entire book. So if any of you are interested in doing that for me, that would be great. Pause recording.